you're going to ask, well, why wouldn't you reduce a rent price, Peter? Wouldn't it behoove the landlord to have something rather than nothing? No, and I'm going to explain why in a second. Let's try and work it out. So what does work it out mean? As we said, I can either, if your rent's $10,000 a month, I can try and take $5,000 from you now and tack on the 5 to the future at some point, so that eventually maybe I'm made whole on the original contract rate. And tenants will say, well, I can't pay the 5 then, I can't pay it now. Why am I going to want to pay it then? And so therein lies a negotiation. Now, landlords will never want to reduce their contract rate. Here's why. Everything keys off the contract rent. Everything. Your debt service coverage ratio covenants, your valuations, if you ever get your building appraised for yourself or for a lender or for a buyout with partners, or if you want to put it on the market and sell it, everything keys off your rent roll. So if you reduce your rent roll, you're reducing your value and you're locking in that reduced value. Whereas if you keep your contract rates the same, and contract rates just get plugged right into your rent roll. So if you keep your contract rates and your rent roll the same, and you give away 2 or 3 months of concession of free rent, now the value of your building hasn't changed. You just need to wait for those 2 or 3 months of concessions to burn off, and then you're back on track contractually at least. And then maybe by then your tenant's paying you full vig. But often what we see is commercial landlords will, what we say is kick the can down the road a little bit, where we'll give a break to a tenant now and hope that they can make it up later, but we're not going to reduce the contract rent. So tenants, be careful what you ask for. You don't want to put your landlord in a position where you're asking for too much vis-a-vis a reduction in contract rent. I would recommend, if you're really in dire straits, you're going to have to ask for your concessions and your workouts, but your contract rent's going to have to remain the same. So maybe that comes to you in the form of free rent, maybe it comes to you in the form of reduced CAM or utilities or tax contributions, whatever your deal is. If you have a commercial lease, if you're a residential tenant, there's just no way around it. It's really just rent. You don't have things like common area and maintenance CAM or property tax contributions that you make on a residential apartment lease where you do with a store or a storefront or perhaps an office building. So it's a tough thing. If the second a commercial landlord signs a written agreement reducing the monthly rent obligation below what the previous contract rate was, the second that happens, he's reduced the value of the building, and you can't reduce the value of the building. You've got loan agreements that prevent you from reducing the value of your building. You have to maintain loan-to-value ratios. The lender, the bank who gives me the money, has a contract with me, and I've agreed to it, and it says that I can't take any action which is going to reduce the value of their collateral. So that's why you don't see commercial real estate landlords and owners rushing to the table to say, gosh, we'd rather have something than nothing, let's reduce everybody's rent. They're not going to reduce anybody's rent in the rent contract, the lease. They're not going to do that. They're just going to give you some free rent. They're going to make a payment plan with you. They're going to try all sorts of creative ways to skin the cat so that you can survive through this fucked up time and they can get paid what you've contractually obligated yourself to pay them at some point.